Hello, my friends. Lonk the Same here. Good to have you back for another Ladder Thursday. And yeah, today we are the baddies. We are the persona non grata from last season. We are going to be doing Red Orange Midrange, which is a deck I covered quite some time ago on this channel, but now we're in a new season and yeah, a lot has changed. This is a deck that was pretty much targeted by the latest patch. It got nerfed a ton. And we're going to find out today if Red Orange Midrange still has a place in the metagame. See if it's still a solid deck or not. So let's dive into a few matches here and we'll see how it does. And to start out, we're going against Constantius G, playing Green Orange Midrange. And we're going to start off with a Strigoi Pup. Nothing too fancy there, just kind of status quo. Now here I'm going to make a play with our path in mind. I'm going to burn the Dark Passenger and play out a Daring Trapezist. I'm going to use the Trapezist to remove the Eager Recruit because I want that to come back first once we have 3 souls in the Boneyards. It's a lot more useful than a Strigoi Pup. But there's an Eager Recruit. So now I'm just going to make the trade anyway, but at least that'll get us closer to 3 souls to get that Daring Trapezist back. Alright, another Eager Recruit. And I have the mana available, so I might as well play out the Parser Recruit as well. And this would be a great turn for Iron Belly Wyvern, but unfortunately the Wyvern got nerfed. It's not really such a solid card anymore. And fortunately we have a Dark Passenger, so we can trade a smaller minion into a larger one, trade up in value, get rid of that desertification engine before it can bounce all over the board. Alright, interesting play to go with the Bila here. Bila's not a great card when the board is empty, so we'll see what we can do to stop it. And there's a Daring Trapezist that I sacrificed early on. Now I can pump it up and use that to remove Bila. So that was the right move, taking out that recruit early on with the Daring Trapezist. Alright, there's a Digital Golem. Good mid-rangey kind of card. When it dies, it'll just make a copy, put that copy in the hand, and the opponent can play it for 0 cost. Alright, Fire Song Prodigy, so we'll get a little bit of removal on our hand. A Boneyard Abomination. Kind of surprising to see it in here. You usually don't see that without a Volition or a Berserker Unchained or some way to slam it in for some quick damage. Unfortunately, we have the other Dark Passenger, so once again, we'll trade up in value and put out a desertification engine of our own. Start making some deserts. Alright, so that was the original Digital Golem our opponent played, so that puts the archival copy in hand. Then we're going to hop around, make a desert, then play Okadodana, and a Frecky Huntress. So I expected the opponent to want to trade into Desertification Engine, but they don't. Instead they decide the Frecky Huntress is a bigger threat. They take that out. There's Bila that came back from their Boneyard. Alright, to Heaven and back, so there's one of our mid-range value engines. Play out Strigoi Pup, and we'll get rid of that Golem. And there's a Led Astray, so unfortunately you can't get any value out of it to Heaven and back. Alright, there's another Golem, so opponent's making good use of their Golems here, getting some good value out of them. Being able to play them out numerous times, but there's Wings of Abaddon. We'll put on to Heaven and back, make the trade. It no longer gets the +1/+1 after it dies on the to Heaven, but still very useful, still very powerful in its ability to recur minions instead of dying. And there's to Hades, so we got our Heaven and Hades combo on the battlefield. And there's a Born Again. And I actually made kind of an oops here. I actually meant to play the Daring Trapezist here to take out the Born Again and then take out Bila. But I wasn't paying attention to what my fingers were doing, and out came Armageddon Angel, and that was the ideal spot for it, but the opponent had a Seal of Exile, so bye-bye Angel. So yeah, because of my mistake, I didn't get as much value out of that as I wanted to. Definitely something I would have preferred to save till when our opponent had a bigger board. Now here, I gotta do a little thinking here. Because we do have the Extract Life. But rather than burn a card to get the mana, I'll just damage it once with the Daring Trapezist. So now it has Frenzy, so I can get in for 4 instead and just take it out with the Extract Life. I mean, I could have just burned the card and used the Extract Life, but I got in for a couple extra damage because I used the Stairway to Hades. Our opponent shifting around the Eager Recruit. Our opponent also got that Boneyard Abomination back, so that could be problematic, but I just want to get in for a couple points of damage here. With the Ifrit, I'll put the Recruit on the Stairway so they can't attack through it. When the opponent uses the Traitorous Murmur, interesting play. That's not something that's gonna... I mean, sure, it got them in for a whole bunch of damage. Ifrit's become a liability, but there's another Magmatar. That's going to clear the path. And the opponent's going to nope it on out of here before I can swing in for the lethal. So you saw, red-orange mid-range. We had good card advantage in the mid to late game. We also were able to keep up the pressure on the opponent, able to get some extra value by using the Heaven and the Hades. So a lot of the good long-range game plan, I think, is still intact with this deck. I think where this deck kind of got nerfed considerably is on the more aggressive side. Cards such as Gigantomachia, the Shopworn Bull, and the Iron Belly Wyvern that got nerfed, all kind of slowed this deck down a little bit. But as you can see, if we get in the long game, we can still get good value out of it and still play a decent long game. So that was a good match number 1. Let's take a look at another match with this deck. Now, match number 2 here is going to be against Jukawal playing Mono Blue Valkyries, and this is a very important matchup because if you've been playing on the ladder at all recently, you'll know that Valkyries, they're kind of everywhere at the moment. So hopefully we can come up with a way to overcome them, and unfortunately I do not have a turn 1 play here. So it's just going to be burn a card, pass the turn. So opponent's going to get a free shot with the Frecky Scout. There's Valkyrie Tough. 3/3 on turn 2 is actually kind of tricky for me to deal with here. So I'll play out the Trapezist. That'll be our 3rd soul because we went 2nd. So we'll get that right back. But next turn I can play out the Ifrit, and there is a Road Queen. So now we're kind of in trouble. It looks like they've got the Valkyrie beatdown plan on track. I put the Ifrit in front of the Tough. I want to be able to, prevent as much damage as I can because we're about to take a beating. But even if I did play the Ifrit in front of the Road Queen, it just does not matter here. The opponent has a troll that they're going to hop, skip, and step out of the way. And we're already down to 9, just like that. Here comes Wings of Abaddon. I take out the Road Queen because that takes a little more power off the board. I just want to try to, save myself as much as possible. But yeah, we're just getting pounded right now. Control, Demolition Speedway, hop over, and that's that. So thoroughly demolished there by the Valkyrie deck. Valkyries, I never thought I would say this, but I would say they are squarely a tier 1 deck right now. And they are all over the ladder. Because as you know, if you've played Valkyries, you can start off with them as a budget deck, and then as you go along, you can add more stuff to it, make it better and better. So it's a very, very common build, very easy to put together for a lot of players. So that's why it's so popular right now. And honestly, when I was testing this deck out, I faced Valkyries 3 different times, and this deck went 1 and 2 against it. The other one I lost was a lot like this one, just got beat down way too quick. And the one that I won, Valkyries got off to kind of a slow start. And because they stumbled, I was able to eventually turn the corner in the mid-game and win. But yeah, red-orange, I don't know that it's a good matchup against the Valkyries, and that gives me a lot of pause with this deck in terms of playing it on the ladder, because if you can't at least go toe-to-toe with the Valkyries, yeah, now is not a good time to be playing that deck because Valks are everywhere right now. So, yeah, Red-Orange struggles against Valkyries, and that's where, like our Iron Belly Wyvern would have come in handy to be able to get in for that quick damage to take out some of their targets. But this deck got nerfed, and it was meant to make it more fair and balanced. So it gives space for decks like Valkyries to operate, some of those more aggressive decks. It doesn't just continually grind against them all game. So, all right, that was match number 2. Let's take a look at one more. Our third and final match is going to be against the man, the myth, the legend, the Arrowbert, playing his famous red-green Reanimator, a deck he's taken all the way up to champion a couple of times. So let's see how we do with this one. And I say red-green Reanimator, but really it works more like Tufaka's orange-green Reanimator deck, where it's essentially a mid-range deck, but it has Reanimator as kind of a backup plan. So I put the straight Panacea in front of the Strigoi Pup, and he takes out the Panacea. I get an extra card out of it. So I'm going to put out the Recruit. Don't want him gaining too much life, making it harder to come back. Then I'll play out the straight Panacea as well. Kind of clog up the board. And there is the Hopeless Necromantic. So he put the Eco Tercero at the bottom of the bin. So I got to be careful and play around that. But as you can see, he has Wings of Abaddon in hand. And that is a card that, whether you wanted to or not, can just turn that Necromantic right into a big giant minion. Now, normally he'd be able to do it on this turn, but the Wings was another card that was nerfed, so now you have to pay the extra 1 to use its ability. So he's got to wait till turn 5. Alright, there's the Oak. So we draw a card with the Panacea. There's the Wings, and flip into the Eco Tercero. But because he crashed into the Oak, we were able to draw up an answer right away. So there's a Sign of Pride. And let's turn that Eco Tercero into a harmless little fluffy lion. Well, harmless to my lion anyway. But alright, take out the Wings. So we're pretty good on board here. But we are playing a Reanimator deck, so yeah, there's a lot of giant beasties to contend with. And this is one we don't have a whole lot of answers for at the moment, so I'm just going to put the Desertification Engine in front of it. And the straight Panacea is actually going to come in handy here, because that will actually remove some of the damage that Cerberus can do, because it will gain us a little bit of life. We were at 24 before we played the Panacea. There's a Duskwing Angel. And when all is said and done, we only lost 1 life from that Cerberus. So fortunately, we do have the Extract life. We can get in for 6 damage, and we can take that thing out right away before it gets out of hand. The next turn, we can come up with a solution for that Duskwing Angel. There's a Sideshow Chimera. Going to get hit for 4. Arrowbert's going to gain 4. But he is out of cards in hand, so this time I've got the Armageddon Angel, and I'm going to play this one on purpose. We'll just clear out the board, see if he comes up with an answer. We have a Daring Trapezist to offer some protection, also a Magnetar. There's a House Elf. There's Wings. So we're drawing all kinds of good solutions here. Just trade off with the House Elf, then I'll put Serapis in front of that Wings. Get in for 8. We've got him down to 7. There's a Vilha Wind Fury. We're getting zapped by the disc. So we're going to put Magnetar, put that down to 2. Then we have Fire Sign Prodigy, Burner Red. And then we can play out the Ignition. And that is that. So like in our first matchup, we see some of the long-range value of this deck. We were able to kind of turn things around in the mid-game there. We were able to foil the Reanimator strategy. And then you saw in the late game there, once again, we were way up on cards. Straight Panacea showed off a good deal of value as well. It drew us 3 cards, gained us, was it 2 life that you net each time, so gained us 6 life. So Panacea, despite not having any power, is still an effective card that was recently upgraded from the latest patch. And yeah, just once again, this deck showing some good mid-range value, taking out a good, strong mid-range type of deck. And yeah, so let's go back to the home screen here, and we'll talk about this for a little bit. The big question, is red-orange mid-range still good? In short, yes, I think it's fine still. Is it the tier 1 elite powerhouse deck that it was last season? No, I don't think it is by a long shot. I mean, this deck really lost some of its most important tools, and the one I think I missed the most from this deck is this one right here, Iron Belly Wyvern. And when I say I missed the most, I was not a big player of red-orange mid-range, but I get why they made the changes that they did. This is now a much more fair deck than it was. The fact that you don't have a 3-power minion with Rush anymore definitely does hurt this deck and what it was trying to do. Because you can't, trade off with some of your opponent's minions or fling it at your opponent's face. So, this was a key tool against aggressive decks, being able to make those trades and then being able to get it back with Journey of Souls. The other one that I felt hurt the deck the most was actually the Wings of Abaddon change. It used to be you could play this on turn 4, eat another minion, crash into something, and the wings would still live. And now you have to wait till turn 5 to make that play, because it costs you 1 mana now to be able to sacrifice one of your other minions to give it immortal. So, yeah, just a bunch of changes were made to this deck. We also see that the Shopworn Bull, that now costs an extra mana, as does the Gigantomachia. So this got nerfed, and I think this really affects this deck on the aggressive side of the deck. The mid-range, the long game plan with this deck is still fine, but it really doesn't grind quite like it used to against the more aggressive decks. But we did pick up some good tools in here as well. I mean, straight Panacea, we saw that in the last matchup. It was able to gain us a bunch of life, draw us a few cards by playing them out. And also Serapis is a good addition. I mean, a 3/6 with life tap is just a good body to have in there. And, draining 1 life, it's not bad. It has its uses, but the -3 to be able to basically give them the stairway effect without the frenzy is very, very good to have, especially those with enter the battlefield effects. And we saw from the first game, I mean, stairway, still really good. And the To Heaven and Back, even though the To Heaven got nerfed a little bit, still really, really good being able to bring our minions back. So overall, some of its tools got nerfed significantly, but I think there's enough good, powerful cards in here still that it'll still be able to find a place in the metagame. As you saw, it did struggle against Valkyries, and that is, that definitely does take away some of the power of this deck, because there are so many Valkyrie decks out there right now. Like, if this deck continues to struggle against Valkyries, I think we'll see it diminish somewhat in the metagame. And we've also seen other decks like red-blue aggro. There's even been some red-purple aggro decks that have been springing up. So, if there's too much aggro in the metagame, I think this deck will struggle to find a place. But if it's more mid-rangey, more control-y, I think this deck will be okay. Certainly not the powerhouse that it was. This is a much more fair and balanced deck, but definitely one that's worth, trying out at least. And this is by no means like, the most efficient build out there. This is just my take on the deck. As you can see, I don't have a Seal of Exile in here. Maybe I should have put that in the deck, but I figured if I'm playing against a lot of aggressive decks, Seal of Exile is not really a good piece of removal because it does tempo yourself and it does set you back in terms of mana. So yeah, there may be other variations out there that are better than this, but I will leave a link for this one in the description below. You can check it out for yourself if you want to, or you can try your own variation of this. But I think red orange mid-range still has a place in the metagame. Not the powerhouse that it was, but still decent overall. So that is going to be it for me today. I do have an article that just came out on Monday on Nephilim GG, so I will leave that link in the description below. I break down cards for humanity, all the matchups, all the stats, all that good stuff. You can check that out for yourself. I will be back on Tuesday with another Gwent video. Yes, I'm getting into Gwent now. I would like to continue making some more content for that. I'm enjoying that a lot. And I will definitely be back with Mythgard on Thursday. We will have another Ladder Thursday. No idea what I'm going to do yet, but I'm sure it'll be fun. Sure it'll be exciting. And I'm kind of enjoying this new metagame. It's nice to see aggro and mid-range decks making a comeback. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say for today. So I will see you guys next time.